go to the Teen Media Literacy event. I promise you, it will not fail. If you don't get anything out of it, I personally will buy you a glass of water.
Let's pump up the volume!
This year was pump up the volume on media literacy. We wanted to make sure everyone knows about what media literacy is after this conference. With starting I'm Not the Media, and initially when I first started it, I didn't even know about this term media literacy education. I started walking this path of empowering teens through media conversations and dialogue, and then I met phenomenal people along the way, and they're like, hey, you're doing media literacy education. And then I realized we were the only organization that existed in North Carolina that was doing the work that we were doing. And I connected with a lot of great people on a national level. The National Association of Media Literacy Education got involved with them. And then also this phenomenal group, national group called Media Literacy Now, in which I serve as a chapter lead in North Carolina to try and get media literacy education mandated in the school systems. So with seeing that there's this need for media literacy education in the school system, I began trying to reach out to politicians and see if they could help. You know, I'm starting to do this lobbying work in the back end and see if they will help support passing a bill to get media literacy in our schools, because kids need media literacy. I mean, they're engaging in with media. We're pushing digital, everything digital, but we're not equipping them with the skills, the resources, and the education that they need to navigate through media, and become, you know, good digital citizens. So I'm like, okay, they should be all on board for this. But then I kept getting the back end like, you know, we can't support that right now, or just no email response at all. So I'm seeing that there's really no support. No one's really seeing the importance here. So I'm like, okay, I need to do some work. What do we need to do? So in having conversations with other people in the community, I'm talking about media literacy, and people are like, okay, what is media literacy? So we need to rewind. We need to educate the community on what this term media literacy is, so then they can understand the importance for media literacy education. So we looked at the opportunity to do this conference as, we need to bring these teens on board, because let's empower them to become advocates for themselves, and for them to now become advocates for media literacy in their schools, in their communities, and help with this fight to say, this is important. And also, it created the platform for us to do research, so we can have the numbers and the stats to back up and say, this is the conversations these kids are having, which we had at this conference, to show why there's a need. And this is the impact that happened at this conference, for you to say, okay, wow, we need something like this in our school. We need programs like this in our community.
The teens, they get it. They get why it's important, what media literacy is about. But sometimes, a lot of people have not heard of what media literacy is and why it's important. You know, we deal with media on a consistent basis, and yet a lot of individuals don't understand what it is and why it's important for people to be educated on it. So I would say maybe that would be one of our challenges, is that making sure that people understand how important media literacy is and why it's important for not only just teens, but we as a whole, as individuals, as a society, understands why media literacy education is important. Because you think about how many times do you utilize your device? How much television are you watching? You know, it's imputed in our everyday lives. So I think it's one of the things that I would say that'll one of the challenges.
With the conference, we had three focus areas that we focused on with media literacy education. We looked at the media's influence on body image and stereotypes, which is huge right now. And then we also looked at the media's influence on healthy relationships and dating violence. And then lastly, we looked at the influence of social media on identity and peer relationships and personal branding with teens. So those were the three focus areas: dating, violence, social media's influence, and body image and stereotypes. And with that, we got a lot of support in the community from sponsors that wanted us to engage in those conversations and empower teens to become advocates centered around those different issues in which media are influencing teens. So the Jamie Kimball Foundation was the first sponsor to come on board, which is an organization that focuses on dating violence, especially with teens, educating them on dating violence. So they came on board and supported us with a nice offering to support the conference. Greatly appreciate them. And UNC Charlotte, huge sponsor for us, the School of Health and Human, the College of Health and Human Services. The social work department was our main key sponsor. We worked with Professor Shanti Kulkarni, and she spearheaded research for the conference. So there's a lot of funding that helped support the research component, with also this organization called Shaping the Message. I'm sorry, not organization, research initiative in the community called Shaping the Message. So there's some funding that came from there. We also had the Women's and Girls Research Alliance that was all on board for supporting the media's influence workshops on body image. And we also had help from money come in from the county, the Women's Commission. So we definitely appreciated all our sponsors.
Outside of school, because I'd rather be here than at home where I'm not really like stimulating my brain. So it's good to come here and like learn things in a more comfortable environment than school, where things are a lot more censored. Like this is the real world, and I'm with my peers. So I think it's a more cultural experience and cultivates that kind of stuff. So I'm happy to be here.
Media literacy is the act of going through media messages and actually accessing, analyzing, evaluating those messages. And then the last piece of media literacy education is action, because action is that conversation, action is that dialogue, action is doing something about it. Because once you're exposed to media literacy, you realize that there's something to do. So it's the process of accessing, analyzing, and evaluating media messages, and then taking action.
And that like gives you the idea to do drugs. You might not do it immediately, but that's like planting the seed for the future.
I think a lot of African American men are like targeted. You know, you see on the news.
Media literacy is important because it empowers individuals and it educates individuals on how to decode the different messages that are being brought to us through the media. So when you're looking at a photo ad and you're saying, who are they targeting? Who are they marketing to? Or when I'm listening to a song, what are they talking about? Or when I'm watching a reality show, what is this reality show telling me about healthy relationships or about dating and things like that? So I would say that's one of the reasons why media literacy is so important, because we're so immersed in media on a day-to-day basis that sometimes we tend to, the different messages that we receive through the media, we tend to be desensitized to it. So in a sense of when you're used to watching dating violence in a reality show or in a movie or something like that, or listening to it in music, we tend to think that that's a social norm. It's just something that, you know, it is what it is, and not really understanding that that's a message that's being portrayed to you. And how is that affecting you and how you're interacting with others and what you're allowing in your life as a relationship, or how you're treating others in a relationship. So.
Being a keynote speaker at the conference, I got a chance to really tell my story about how, you know, I came into it, you know, pre-social media, and now social media is really a part of what I do. So I got a chance to really speak to the youth about following their dreams, focusing in on what they want and not being afraid to go after it. At the same time, finding that balance of being smart, being responsible for what you do, and having fun. The biggest mistake that teens make with putting their stuff out there on social media is that they think it won't come back to them, or that it'll just live in that moment, when in actuality it lives forever. Snapchat, you think, ends when you know, after a day, but somewhere out there in the ether, it is out there waiting to come back and bite you when you're ready to be president. So the biggest mistake is they think they're invincible, especially when it comes to media, that inside their room is where they're safe. But the minute that they put it out there, the whole world is now, you know, exposed to what they've just done, or what they've flashed out there for everybody to see.
Your business. So honestly, the exposed pages, I mean, you should be careful what you do, because what you do, it is going to follow you.
Social media, it's a lot of stuff that happens, especially if you're in a romantic relationship. Like, you hear about all of these rappers in a relationship, and then they break up because of some stupid thing that happened on social media, or somebody had a rumor about him cheating or her doing stuff. So, like, it's like a good thing. It could ruin stuff, but it also could be a good thing and an impact. It could be a good thing because it, like, can help you with stuff you need to know, stuff you do know. It can be a bad thing because it can damage your friendship.
Some teens, they showed up and they're like, my mom brought me here. But by the end of the conference, they were like, they don't want to leave, and they made new friends. And one parent called us and told us that some of the teens they just met at the conference, they were hanging out with, going to the mall the following week. So, you know, everyone left very filled, very satisfied, very empowered, and we achieved everything we sought out to achieve.
This conference was very effective, and I can speak to that on a personal level because my daughter went, and she talked about it. She enjoys herself. She met new friends. I think that was one of the biggest things that these kids don't get to do, is actually meet someone that's not you know, on a Snapchat or an Instagram or whatever that they're using. They actually get to see a person and ask that person their name, and then they get an audible response like, wow, I heard you and I know who you are. So I think it was very effective, because now these kids hear messages that aren't from their parents, from other adults. You know, and that, you know how the story goes. Your parents could tell you that the sky is blue, and you're like, no, it's not. Until someone else says the sky is blue, I'm like, yeah, it is. So I think it's very effective that you have knowledgeable adults who've experienced all the things that they're talking about, and giving them this message that, hey, you can achieve your goals, you can, you know, be whoever you want to be, and here are the dangers and the pitfalls and the traps that are out there. Be advised, and here, you know, here are the rules and the things that you should follow. And the kids are like, yeah, that makes sense.
The media, like, just what these kids are exposed to on a daily basis, and kudos to them for being here, and us being here. Like, I'm so happy to be here to give these kids a link to process this stuff and have conversations and figure out what it means. And
you don't have knowledge of self and understand who you are and love yourself, size, color, and all, they're going to tell you what you should be. And then you're going to be striving and striving and striving and striving to be something that you're not. And then how can you look in the mirror knowing that you changed yourself to be something that you're not?
I think getting them involved in group work and making them a part of a group effort really makes them accountable for themselves and other people. So you know that there's no one man is an island kind of thing. So I think that really kind of put the message across for them, like, hey, it is a connected world, not so much, you know, connected through all the media and social media devices, but actual people. Like, we're an actual team. There's physical work that we can do and get a job done.
And so, but you're going to have to explain what you mean by that. So you're going to have text in your ad, and that's going to be a large part of your ad for that to work, right?
Who are my 4 people? Once we get past 2, we're close to too many. Does that make sense? Because what we're trying to do, I'm just gonna say it like I would say it if I was in class. Audiences are stupid. They don't know anything until you tell them what they're supposed to think. And if you give them too many things to look at, they're not gonna know what they should be paying attention to. If you give them 2 things, we as human beings, if you give us 2 things to compare, we're usually pretty good at it. That's not the same as that, right? Your challenge here is to say, are we using too many people?
Body dysmorphia. Okay, so throughout the week, we've seen how the media portrays certain images as desirable and undesirable in certain body types and people. A condition that could be caused by this is body dysmorphia, in which a person looks into a mirror and they see something totally different than their actual appearance. It might be to protect their ego, and it's because the media morphs them to think that that is desirable, whichever one of these may be the true image. We decided that the point of this campaign was to show that we are not the media, and we are not affected by how they want to control us and how they want to show that certain images are desirable and undesirable, because there's beauty in everything.
The biggest thing that I personally wanted the teens to take away from the conference is the fact that they are uniquely made individuals, and that they do not have to be negatively influenced or shaped or pulled or pushed by the media or by anyone else. That I personally want them to walk away with a renewed confidence about who they are, and not think that they should be something that they see on TV because this is something that I see on a norm, so I should look like this, I should talk like this, you know, but just really being able to walk away from the conference and say, hey, who I am is okay, and I'm okay with that, and I'm going to continue in that. And then also, not only that, but I'm going to tell my friends, hey, don't do that, don't follow that crowd, let's just be ourselves, let's just be who we were created to be.
You never know with this conference, what the conference next year is going to be about, as far as theme-wise, but there will be more planning on the back end that will be spearheaded by some great teams that were involved this past year. It will be bigger. We will have more seats. We know that. We know we're going to have more seats because we had to close it out this year because we reached capacity, and so next year we're going to open it up to more seats, and we hope to bring in more funding. So if there's sponsors that are sitting here watching this video and they're wanting to know how they can support, we definitely could use more sponsors, help with fundraising to make this conference bigger and better.
One thing that I would like to encourage anybody who's watching this DVD is to get involved. Even, of course, we want to pull all of our teens, but we also want to pull individuals that have that voice that can pour into these young people that need to hear different things from a media literacy standpoint, or just from educational standpoint, media, whatever, you know, volunteers, overnight chaperones, committee planners, people who want to get on board and help plan the next year. We definitely want, with this conference, I would say one of the things that we've always tried to push as an organization is not just I'm Not the Media is doing this, and this is all about I'm Not the Media, but we want to include the community. There are other great agencies out here that have the same knowledge and other resources that they can share with youth that need it, and we want to include them as well.
What I would tell a person who did not attend this conference is attend the conference. It's that simple. Like, there's so much knowledge and information that happens at this conference that this interview alone cannot explain it all. I could tell you a million times what it is, but you have to see it for yourself. It's like an Eiffel Tower, a Grand Canyon, the Leaning Tower of Pisa. You have to see these things in real life to know that they're real and that they are amazing and that you will walk away a different person. It's
a life-changing experience. I remember telling the teens that came to the conference when we opened up that after they leave this weekend, their life will never be the same, and they will never look at media the same. And on Sunday, when we saw those teens do their presentations, we knew that they no longer looked at media the same, just from the conversations that they had. So I just want to let any teen know, or any parent know, that if your teen attends this conference next year, they will not be the same.
So are you excited about being here today?
I'm very excited.
What did you learn?
I learned that I am not a stereotype. I am breaking boundaries. I am not the media. and also that I'm gonna spread the word, like tell my friends about this awesome organization as well as Girl Talk Incorporated, you know, because we work together, because Charlotte is small, but it's building up, and it's a lot of empowerment groups and organizations around here trying to empower the young folks, because we are the next generation, and we all need to feel and understand that nobody can tell us who we are other than us. We are in control of our own lives, not the media, not anything else that can contradict your thoughts or actions. Like, love yourself, be who you are, be true to yourself. That's it. That's all I can say.